This is the BG Sports Show presented by Sports Radio America. I'm Bax.
And this is Sam.
Good Tuesday morning to all of you wonderful people. The BG Sports Show, the only place that has more fun than Johnny Manziel partying in a Texas nightclub. That is it, folks. We are here, ready to have a good time. I'm excited, Sam. We got a lot of fun things to talk about today. A few changes in scheduling and programming today as well, though. No David Kenyon of Bleacher Report today. He is on the road traveling, so he will not join us on our program today, but
doing lots of important things, I'm sure.
I'm sure, knowing David Kenyon, I'm sure we are only so fortunate to be able to speak with him as many times a week as we do.
It's true.
He's a busy man, I understand that, but he's traveling for his Thanksgiving plans, so we'll see him.
That's fair.
We'll see him again next week, unfortunately, but and then Connor Christensen will be on the show a little bit later on as well for his Fight Corner, which is usually on Thursdays, but due to different scheduling changes, as you know, we have a shorter week this week for the BG Sports Show. He'll be on today as well. So a lot of good things to get to. Good morning to everybody on Periscope as you continue to check in. Remember, let us know where you're watching us from and what sports teams or sports players you enjoy as well. If you have any questions during the show, we'd love to hear from you. We do want to remind you that you can get us right here on Spreaker.com from 7 to 8 a.m. Central Live and on Periscope as well. You can also find us on Sports Radio America, SportsRadioAmerica.com, Live 365, and tune in from 11 to 1 p.m. Central Time and on demand on Podbean, iTunes, iHeartRadio, and on Spreaker.com as well.
And you can find us on social media. We are on Facebook at The BG Sports Show. We are on Instagram at BG Sports Show. We haven't posted to Instagram in a while.
It's been a few days.
Yeah, it has. We got to get back on that.
We got to get that, yeah.
And we are also on Twitter at BG Sports Show. Baxter's at Baxter Colbert, and I'm at Samuel_Wallace2.
Sam, did you ever imagine a world where Tyrod Taylor would have a better night passing than Tom Brady?
You know what? You read my mind. I was thinking of that. I was thinking of that last night after the game. I was still up going over a few things, and I'm like, he was more efficient in passing than Tom Brady was.
He was. He looked like the better quarterback last night. However, the New England Patriots staying undefeated, one of the two teams still between the Patriots and the Carolina Panthers that are still undefeated. They won last night 20-13. It was kind of an ugly win. Former Wisconsin Badger James White doing all the scoring last night.
Getting his first 2 career touchdowns in the same game.
I was so surprised with how well he played last night. I mean, he only touched the ball 4 times, 2 on the ground, 2 on the air, but he got 2 touchdowns out of it. It's half his points, right? Half his touches. That's a pretty good ratio.
Yeah, no kidding. And just the Patriots' continued dominance of the Bills. There's only one team that has beaten another team more than the Patriots have beaten the Bills in recent years. You know what that is?
Packers-Bears?
It's Brett Favre's Packers beating the Lions.
Oh,
only Brett Favre's Packers have beaten the Lions more than Tom Brady's Patriots have beaten the Bills.
Holy cow. I mean, you can't really say the Tyrod Taylor Bills or the whoever Bills because the Bills shuffle through quarterbacks all the time.
But yeah, I found that interesting.
That is an interesting note.
Tom Brady's complete dominance of the Buffalo Bills.
He owns Buffalo. He might as well take New York and rename Buffalo just to Brady.
Well, did you hear one of their audible calls in the first quarter?
I did. Rex Ryan is one of their audible calls.
Rex Ryan. I mean, come on.
That's fantastic.
That's
well
wonderful.
Done. I got to clap for Brady and Belichick on that one. That was a smart play to drop there on that one, guys. But it's interesting. I mean, obviously the game's not won on paper. That's why they play the game, Sam.
That's why they play the game.
That's why they play the game. But Tyrod Taylor coming away with not a terrible night. Didn't throw a touchdown or an interception. Was sacked twice, but did complete 20 of his 36 passing attempts. Well, Tom Brady did 20 of 39 for 277 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception.
1 fluke interception, too. I mean, Brady probably shouldn't have made that throw. It was
true.
It was double, almost triple covered, and the ball just kind of skipped up and landed into another guy's hands. So,
and that makes you wonder, and I don't want to rush into this immediately, but does that make you wonder that because of him making that throw, does that mean that Brady might be teetering off towards oldness yet?
No, one throw doesn't make that.
No? You said it was the throw he probably should have never made.
True, but he's human.
Fair enough.
It's Tom Brady. I know. I can't believe I'm saying it, but it was only his, 4th pick of the season.
Yeah, I think so.
He's fine.
Okay, fair enough. Aside from that, though, I mean, it was kind of a fumbly night between the two teams. 5 fumbles between the two teams. Buffalo fumbled the ball 4 times. They only lost 1 of them, thankfully, but when you put the ball on the ground 4 times, I don't care if you get all 4 of them back. If you guys can't hold on to the ball, I mean, look at the guys that fumbled. Tyrod Taylor fumbled once. Carlos Williams, Ladonius McKelvin fumbled twice last night. Come on, guys. You're better than that.
But, the Bills and the Patriots both had a fumble on the same possession.
Yeah.
On a punt. It's just,
It was one of those things that, I mean, I understand that we're getting later on into the year. The elements are starting to play a little bit of a factor. It's getting colder, rain, snow, sleet, hail, whatever. It's a little bit harder to hold on to a ball nowadays, but even still, I mean, you guys are being paid millions of dollars to just hold on to a small spherical ball. Just do your job.
Tuck it away.
Exactly. Were you surprised at all about how many times Danny Amendola saw the ball last night? We all had a feeling with Julian Edelman being gone, Amendola was going to be the man. Sure enough, last night it turned into a pretty good performance. Yeah,
9 catches, 117 yards, just the constant focal point. He turned 12 targets into 9 catches. Not a bad ratio.
Not at all.
Considering the Bills were doing a really, really good job of shutting down Gronkowski. That was kind of their game plan. Rex Ryan came out earlier this week and said, we have a plan for Rob Gronkowski, and most people were like, ha. Okay.
Sure you do, bro.
We'll believe it when we see it. And actually, Gronkowski only turned 7 targets into 2 catches for 37 yards.
That's not bad at all.
His first catch came on the opening drive for the Patriots, and his second catch didn't come until much, much later in the game. So
my goodness.
Credit to the Bills for shutting down the best tight end in the league. But yeah, like we talked about, Amendola was going to get looks, and he turned them into a lot of yards.
He did, yeah. I mean, looking even around at the rest of the receivers, the entire receiving core stepped up last night. Brandon LaFell turned 8 targets into 4 receptions. James White had 3 targets on 2, 1 for a touchdown. Aaron Dobson had 1 reception. LeGarrette Blount had 1 reception. And Scott Chandler as well. So Brady, yes, targeted Danny Amendola the most out of any of those guys last night, but he wasn't afraid to still dish it around and spread it around last night. Kind of like what Tyrod Taylor did as well.
Yeah, no kidding. Robert Woods, I mean, had the ball thrown his way quite a bit, only turned it into 4 catches, but I just kept seeing his name pop up. I'm like, all right, he's playing well. He's finding ways to get open, but at the end of the day, like you said, just wasn't quite enough on the Buffalo end.
Agreed. Yeah, I mean, find it funny though too, because after a few weeks ago, you'll probably recall Buffalo Bills wide receiver Sammy Watkins complaining about saying, "Give me the ball, give me the ball, give me the ball," and he was only targeted 6 times last night. Only had 3 catches for 39 yards. I understand he's playing New England, but New England's pass defense traditionally, at least this year, hasn't been the greatest.
No.
With all the losses that they've had, this should have been a great coming up party for Sammy Watkins, and he decides to continue to not perform.
Yeah, he did have 1 awesome catch, though. I don't know if you caught that. He had 1 real nice one-handed catch. He was cutting across the middle on a slant, and Tyrod Taylor threw the ball a little high and behind him, and Watkins reached up like this, kind of like Odell Beckham caught it and just brought it in. So that was cool.
He's a fantastic wide receiver. I've never had a problem with Sammy Watkins.
Very talented.
I just wish he had a better quarterback throwing him the ball.
Yeah.
I wonder how long he hangs around in Buffalo
before he just starts looking for more money.
Yeah. Money / just a more reliable quarterback situation.
It's true.
No offense against Tyrod. He's doing everything he can, especially when he wasn't even projected to be the starter this year. This is a guy that was a 3rd-string quarterback coming onto the roster, and now he's the starter.
Props to him.
Almost beat the Patriots.
And the thing is, I think the Bills' defense played well enough to beat New England last night. So credit to their defense for holding the Patriots to only 20 points.
Agreed.
Gostkowski had a very uncharacteristic missed field goal. There were some chances that the Bills had. I think the turning point in the game actually came at the end of the first half when the Patriots turned on their 2-minute offense at the end of the first half and were able to march right down and score off of that.
That was huge. Being able to get that touchdown right before halftime certainly changes the dynamic of things. Now, I'm curious to get your thought about this. We have a question on Periscope. I didn't see the name, but I did see what the question was. Wanting to know what our comparison is to Rob Gronkowski and Greg Olsen.
Ooh, Rob Gronkowski and Greg Olsen. I think I would have to put him Gronkowski first, Olsen second.
Okay.
And then after that, it should drop off. I really think the two of them have stepped up this year and are just kind of alone in their own world as far as production from tight ends. Oddly enough, they're both playing on undefeated teams right now. They're both a main focal point of their offense.
True.
The offense seems to run through the tight end position, whether they get the looks or not. Even though Gronkowski wasn't getting the looks and the catches last night, I feel like he's still the first check down. I should say the first check down, the first option that Brady has when he steps back.
Oh, I'd agree with you on that one. Yeah, I mean, you look at those two guys, I feel like Cam tries to spread it around on purpose so that way he doesn't have one focal point. I mean, you heard him throw 5 touchdowns and send it to 5 different people.
Yep.
But in New England, it's either going to, like you mentioned, Gronk's first look. It was Edelman's second look, but now it's Amendola's second look. Oh, Brandon LaFell. Oh, gosh, who's in this play for running back? Okay, I'll toss it off to you guys. But he's very similar to who he goes with in terms of, okay, I'm going to go to Gronk or, I'm going to go now to Amendola. But between the two guys, I mean, who do you feel like brings more value to the team, I feel, in regards of what they bring, on a weekly basis?
I think Olsen, especially over the last number of weeks, Olsen has proved to be more of a consistent producer and performer in Carolina's offense, but I still feel like Gronk gives you the bigger ceiling where he can go off for, I think, 7 or 8 catches, 150 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Not that Olsen hasn't done that. He had one real big breakout game earlier this year.
True.
But I still feel like Gronk is a tougher matchup for defenses.
That is true, yeah. I mean, and looking at some of the comparisons of these two guys here on Top Dog Stats, Gronk's played 9 games, Olsen's played 10. They've got 49 and 48 receptions, respectively. Gronk with the lead on that one. Gronk has 8 receiving touchdowns. Greg Olsen has 6. When it comes to being targeted in the red zone, Gronk has been targeted 16 times to Olsen's 14 times.
Yep.
Gronk takes away. They both tight ends take 20%. Oh, I'm sorry. Gronk takes 20% of all targets during the season, and Greg Olsen takes 28% of all targets in the season. So that makes sense. It was Julian Edelman, it was Danny Amendola that were taking more targets away from Gronk.
Yeah.
But in Carolina, there's not many guys that can really take the targets away.
Yeah, after Kelvin Benjamin got hurt at the beginning of the year, even before the season started, a lot of people already could tell that Olsen was going to be the focal point of that offense from the get-go.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, even looking at it from a fantasy perspective as well, Olsen only averages about 10.8 points a game, while Gronk averages 14.3. I'm sure after last night that number will go down a little bit. But I know they're getting targets. They're getting touches. They're both averaging about 8 touches a game in terms of what they do with the ball. So do you go on record and say, Gronkowski is the better of the two right now? Or do you say, if you have to look at it from a different perspective and say who's more valuable to their team, if you take one of them away, is either of these teams, number one, undefeated, number two, how these quarterbacks do?
Yeah, see, that's an interesting dynamic to put it on, because I would have to actually change my answer based on the question. As far as who is the better tight end straight up, I'd have to go with Gronkowski. I think just his physicalness and his ability to get the ball and go downfield makes him a tougher matchup for defenses. But I think who would suffer more without their tight end, I feel like it would be Carolina. So I feel like Olsen is a bigger component, and he would be missed more in Carolina, simply because I feel the Patriots and Bill Belichick would find a way to still win a game.
I was going to say, they're going to find some random Joe off the road and make him an elite receiver.
They're going to find a guy to win games, and they've shown that the last 2 weeks Gronkowski hasn't done a whole lot.
Absolutely, yeah, it's true. He hasn't really. I mean, looking at how he's performed as a player, overall is stuttered the last few weeks, which has been unfortunate because for a lot of fantasy owners, they had hoped he was gonna probably do a little bit better.
I'll check that. It was 2 weeks ago when he had a little bit of a rough week. Because last week he actually had his longest scoring play from scrimmage. It was a 76-yard touchdown pass. But
True.
Apart from that one big breakout play, he's been very quiet the last few weeks, and the Patriots have still continued to win. If Olsen goes down, I think the Panthers are still going to be a good team, and I know we're going to talk about that in a segment coming up, but
absolutely,
I feel like they would suffer more without Greg Olsen.
Oh, I completely agree with you on that one. All right, well, coming up, as Sam mentioned, we will be talking a little bit more in depth about the Patriots and the Panthers, along with some fantasy football implications as well. You're not going to want to miss it, and I've got a very interesting question to ask Sam as well. You're not going to want to miss it. Back with more right after this. Welcome back to the BG Sports Show, presented by Sports Radio America. I'm Bax.
And this is Sam.
We'd like to take a moment to thank one of our sponsors of the BG Sports Show. That would be Student Debt Center. You can call them today to have your student loan payment reduced by calling 855-401-3508.
That number again is 855-401-3508.
All right, Sam. Well, we talked about fantasy football briefly in our last segment as one of the wonderful people on Periscope asked to compare Gronkowski and Greg Olsen. And we dabbled with that a little bit, but we're going to talk more about what those two teams have to offer a little bit later on. Neither of those guys really did anything fantasy football-wise this week, so no real reason to jump out onto it. But we do have the top 10 performers this week in fantasy football, according to NFL.com, Sam. So who were the top 10 aficionados in fantasy football this week?
All right, I'll just do a brief rundown from 10 on up. These are, I'm doing rough rounding. It's in PPR format, so I'll just give you the rough closest number. Matthew Stafford, 20 points. Andy Dalton, 22. Spencer Ware?
What?
Had 22 for the Chiefs.
Who?
Doug Martin, 23 points and didn't score a touchdown. DeAndre Hopkins had almost 24 points. Carson Palmer, 24. Russell Wilson finally had a good game, 25. Jameis Winston had 30. Cam Newton had 31, and Thomas Rawls, the undrafted rookie running back in Seattle, with 37 points.
It is interesting because you look at that top 10, and 3 of those guys in the BG Sports Show Fantasy Football League do not have a home.
Wow.
That would be Thomas Rawls, Jameis Winston, and Spencer Ware.
Great.
So,
what are we doing?
Don't jump on the bandwagon yet, though, folks. No, everybody, don't go freaking out thinking that Thomas Rawls is going to be like the man, the myth, the legend in Seattle now because they still have Marshawn Lynch. He's been battling injury.
Yep.
Spencer Ware, your guess is as good as mine. Nobody thought that he was going to turn his performance the way he did, especially with Sharkandrick West being there. But
exactly,
still not a bad overall performance from him. I do want to take a moment and find it interesting, though, that Teddy Bridgewater finished with more fantasy football points this week than Aaron Rodgers did.
Yes, he did.
It was by 1 point, but it still counts.
It still counts.
Still counts.
There's someone in our league who owns both of them, so
I'm sure they were thrilled by that.
Yeah.
Brock Osweiler turned in 18 points in his first NFL start. Not a bad move over there from him. Mason Crosby, represent Mason.
22 points. Leading scorer in that game.
Well done. Why is he not on the list?
I don't know. It's a good question. He was probably number 11.
Probably. I think. I think so.
Yeah.
All right. But aside from that being, the great week, we'll focus on that a little bit in just a moment. But there were some poor performers as well, Sam, that really probably hurt a lot of people's teams this week.
Yeah, no kidding. In no particular order here, like the top 10 fantasy disappointments from week 11. Wide receiver Amari Cooper didn't really get on the board in standard ESPN play. 0.4 points in PPR.
Ugh.
Jordan Matthews, wide receiver for the Eagles, had 1 point. Danny Woodhead had 1 point. T.Y. Hilton had 2 points. Jimmy Graham had almost 4. Chris Ivory, who started off this year as kind of like the number 2, number 3 running back in the NFL, has just struggled of late with 4.5 points in PPR. Lamar Miller and the Dolphins, 5.5 points. Phillip Rivers, unbelievable, 6 points.
Wow.
Not cutting it, Phillip.
No kidding.
Come on, Phil.
Get your act together, Phil.
DeMarco Murray only had 7. Derek Carr, who's been just smoking hot playing lately here, he's only got 7 points, 7.5 points this last week.
My goodness. These guys, ironically enough, most of those guys were on my Draft Fury team this week, Sam, which got me in 9th place out of 10.
How did I finish?
You finished in 10th.
Yes.
What
are we doing?
You had 92.2 points. I had 92.42 points.
You're welcome.
Just knock it out. So,
wow.
Congratulations to C-Plath10 for winning this week in Draft Fairy.
Did he really?
He won. He won with 136.7 points in our Draft Fairy League. We'll be giving you details a little bit later on in the show about how you can join this upcoming week's level of play. But, yeah, I kind of got hurt pretty terribly this week by Amari Cooper. I mean, my team was Brady, Palmer, Derek Carr, Gronkowski, Cooper, Marshall, T.Y. Hilton, Ivory, and Latavius Murray. So
man, you just have you had 3 of these guys on your team.
It didn't work out for me. When Amari Cooper was my lowest score with 1.4 points on Draft Fairy, it just when Tom Brady only got me 14 points, I was what am I gonna do?
I mean, that's why they play the game,
I guess so, but I wish they'd have played it a little bit better, honestly.
No kidding.
Oh my goodness.
No kidding.
But looking at the BG Sports Show Fantasy League, Sam, you still are the best team in the league.
Just
you
rocking.
snuck away with a 3-point victory.
I know. I was watching the game last night. The girl I was playing in our league, she had the Buffalo Bills kicker left, and I had Gronkowski and the Pats defense, and I was going into the game with a 1-point lead.
Sure.
So, of course, I'm thinking of the worst scenario possible. I'm like, if Gronkowski gets shut down and the Bills' offense starts to roll and score some points, like, this might get close.
Mm-hmm.
And for the longest time, the Pats couldn't do anything on defense. I mean, they were making stops, but they weren't recording any sacks. And they finally got a couple sacks in the second half, got a fumble recovery. That was nice. But, yeah, Gronkowski didn't do much, and they did just enough.
Absolutely. So, handing out our awards in the BG Sports Show this week for highest score. It was the highest score and the lowest score actually took place in the same game.
That's fair.
So, congratulations to the Cortland prosecutors of the BG Sports Show Fantasy Football League and Corey Plath. Not only did he win Draft Theory this week, but he also won his BG Sports Show Fantasy Football League. He scored 93 points, so congratulations to him.
Glad I didn't play him this week.
DeAndre Hopkins with his leading player there with 23 points this week. And the lowest score that I have ever seen in fantasy football.
It actually is lower than my one loss this year. Thank goodness.
What was how many points did you get?
I think it was like 35.
35. Okay. So the lowest score now, this is the lowest score I've ever seen. 28 points
in fantasy.
From the Houston Oilers, and Connor Christensen is who we'll hear from later on in the show this week.
Yeah,
in
bring that
football.
up. I want to see this.
So here's how his team broke down. Phillip Rivers, 5 points. LeGarrette Blount, 5 points. Chris Johnson, 6 points. Jeremy Maclin, 2 points. Tavon Austin, -1. Zach Ertz, 1. Sharkhandrick West, 5. The Bengals defense, 4. And Blair Walsh, 1.
Ouch.
On his bench, Kyle Rudolph had 16. Kenny Stills had 11. Jeremy Langford had 9. I mean, Kirk Cousins technically had a better day with 6 on his bench.
Technically, yeah. He still went to 1, but...
No, but if he'd have started all these guys, Pierre Garçon had 4 points on his bench. That was better than both of his receivers combined.
Yeah.
Who got him 1 point combined.
You know, I knew a week ago, too, he was sitting on like 5 of the best running backs in football at the time.
At the time.
With Langford and West and Blunt and, yeah.
Yeah, and so after this week's action... Sam is still on top of the BG Sports Show Fantasy Football League at 10-1 in the West, and I am on top of the East Division with a 7-4 record. Next closest guy behind Sam is David Kenyon at 7-4, and our producer Danny Hoffenstein at 7-4. And the next closest in my league is Chris Blakely, who is 5-6.
Yeah, and we're playing this week, so matchup of division leaders.
Oh boy, we haven't. Have we played?
Yeah,
yet?
We have.
Oh, that's right. I beat you barely, didn't I?
No,
you beat me.
I beat you. My
right.
one loss came in week 1.
Oh,
so.
That's right. I couldn't remember if I played you week 1 or not. But yeah, it's going to be a nail biter.
It's going to be. You better find a running back.
Oh gosh, I'm going to start trading everybody. Just be like, I don't care. Just
ship them away.
Give me running backs. Well, Connor yesterday, before he came on the studio yesterday, he's like, I don't even care. He's like, just anybody you want from my team, just start trading.
But
for
see,
him.
like. I understand that, but at the same time, I'm not.
He's one game out of the playoffs in his division.
And the thing is, too, it kind of annoys me with fantasy. And I know people have their own opinions, but people that like the top guys in their divisions and in the leagues that try to like vulture players off of guys that aren't very good. It's like, come on.
Mm-hmm.
Use the team.
I'm not going to do it.
I know you won't, but it's like use the team you drafted. Everybody, come on, make some waivers, make some trades. So.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, looking at my team, my running backs this week aren't great. Justin Forsett is done for the foreseeable future. Carlos Hyde doesn't know what's going on with his life right now. So Adrian Peterson is the only active running back on my roster right now. But aside from that, I mean, I've got a fairly decent team, especially receivers. Cam Newton's my quarterback.
Yeah, you're fine there.
Yeah, aside from that, though, I got to make a decision this week about if I'm going to go Vikings-Atlanta with the Vikings defense or if I'm going to go Broncos defense against the Patriots.
Ooh. Maybe we could. We'll talk. So, maybe we'll trade something before our game.
Yeah.
just to shake things up a little bit.
Just to have a little fun. We should just do a blind trade or something.
I
don't know. All right. Well, we're going to run to a break, but before we do, we did mention though that if you do love playing fantasy sports, you can join Sam and I on DraftTheory.com this week. That's DraftTheory.com. You can sign up today for free and have your first deposit matched up to $1,000 when you use the promo code BAX. That's BAX on DraftTheory.com.
Yeah, join us as we host an NFL Pick'em game this week. You can find all the details on our Facebook page, which is the BG Sports Show, or on DraftTheory.com.
I've got a burning question for Sam about the comparison of Tom Brady and Cam Newton when we come back. You're not going to want to miss it. Welcome back to the BG Sports Show, presented by Sports Radio America. I'm Bax.
And this is Sam.
Quick reminder for all of you wonderful folks that if you enjoyed the BG Sports Show, why not give us a like on Facebook and give us a follow on Twitter and Instagram by following us at BG Sports Show.
You can find the latest news, articles, videos, pictures, and more every day. If you want to follow us on Twitter, we are at Baxter Colbert and at Samuel_Wallace2.
All right, Sam. Well, before we went to a break, I made sure to rattle you just a little bit by saying that I had a burning question to ask you about Cam Newton and Tom Brady.
You did, and I don't like it because you won't tell me what it is.
Well, it's not like it's a bad thing. It's several parts.
Of course
But
it
it has to do with the comparisons because both of these quarterbacks are on undefeated teams.
The only two left.
The only two left. Cam Newton has had himself a fairly good year. Brady has done fairly good for himself as well, as they traditionally do. Now, one of my few questions that I want to ask you about these two guys.
Here we go.
If you take these two quarterbacks and switch them on their respective teams, are both teams still undefeated?
That's a good question. I'm going to say yes.
Really? Why is that?
I think because both quarterbacks, like great quarterbacks do, they make the players around them better. Mm-hmm. We've seen it before in Aaron Rodgers when he's had less than stellar wide receivers or players around him. They kind of had that next man up mantra, especially in the wide receivers, and they have guys coming off the streets basically and catching touchdowns.
True.
And then you look at, even a player like Tony Romo this last week who just threw the brakes on the Cowboys' just horrendous losing streak and said, hey, I'm here. Guys, we're fine. Let's go. Let's win some games. And the whole team kind of rallied behind him. I feel like that's kind of the same thing with Cam Newton and Tom Brady. Brady definitely has just that legacy right now of just winning, and all he does is win, it seems like.
No matter what?
No matter what. Yes, thank you. And the same thing with Newton. Newton has really grown and developed into a very young, poised quarterback who I think has a more real sense of what the game is and what it means to play an efficient, effective game of football and win.
True.
Instead of going out there trying to be flashy. So I think they still would be
both
undefeated.
Teams. So if Cam Newton as a Patriot leads them still to an undefeated season as at this point in juncture is what you're saying. So both teams
I guess
are still undefeated.
If I had to pick just one, I would say I still feel the Panthers would be undefeated with Tom Brady.
Okay.
I guess I could see Cam Newton and the Patriots having lost a game or two just because I feel the bond and the relationship that Brady and Belichick have goes way deeper than just the game of football.
Sure.
And the way they just read each other's minds and can interact and just work together, I feel like you can't take that away regardless of who else is at quarterback.
Okay. Now here's another question. It's going to be continuously comparing the two of these guys. If you had to injure one of these two quarterbacks the rest of the season.
That's awful.
This is in a nice way, I promise.
Okay.
If you had to injure one of these two guys the rest of the season, whose backup do you trust more to finish them out the season?
Whose backup do I finish more? I don't even know who the backup is in Carolina. I would probably trust Garoppolo because, A, he's got a sweet last name.
That's all that matters.
Yeah. And I just feel like the coaching staff around Jimmy Garoppolo is better, and he's in a better environment where the Patriots are better built to shuffle out players, shuffle in players, and still create a winning dynamic regardless of who's under center.
Mm-hmm. The backup for Carolina is Derek Anderson.
Okay.
Had a fairly good college career. Has done fairly decent in the NFL as well. Spent some time as a starting quarterback for a little while.
Yeah, I would still have to go Patriots. I think just the coaching staff and the whole environment in New England would be better.
Now, here's another way to look at it as well. Both of these guys get injured rest of the year.
Yep.
Who has the better finish to the season, and do either of them make it to the Super Bowl?
Neither one makes it to the Super Bowl, but again, Patriots still have the better year.
Okay, fair enough. All right, well, I just was curious to know your thoughts about several comparisons and questions. You've made it. You survived for a little bit. Now,
that's fine.
An interesting thing, because with the Patriots and the Panthers, everyone is always comparing the two, is trying to say, well, this guy means more to this guy. This guy means more to this team.
Yep.
Looking at the stats quarter by quarter, because this is what you can do on Top Dog Stats, is split up their passing by quarter, which is great.
By quarter?
By quarter. All right. I know. Passing stats by quarter. Tom Brady has thrown 9 fourth-quarter touchdowns to Cam Newton's 4.
Yeah.
Makes really no surprise at that point because Tom Brady is built for the fourth quarter. That's what he does.
They're built to win, I'm telling you.
They're built to win. Cam Newton's best quarter overall across the board is the second quarter. He's thrown for 786 yards in just the second quarter this year, 9 touchdowns. He has thrown 4 interceptions, so take that for what it is.
Yeah.
But he has averaged 13.1 yards passing. He's averaged almost 80 yards that quarter alone.
Yep.
But looking at Tom Brady Tom Brady's worst quarter and subsequently the worst quarter as well. It's hard to say that Tom Brady has a worst quarter.
Yeah, right.
If you're looking at passing yards, I mean, the third quarter has been Tom Brady's worst quarter. But that's also where he's thrown no interceptions and 5 touchdowns as well.
Yeah, so
you can take it for what it's worth. Cam Newton, though, has never played well in the third quarter, traditionally, at least from what the stats are telling us here. He doesn't start the game off traditionally hot either, though. He's 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, only 398 passing yards in the first quarter.
Yeah, I mean, I guess just from the stats that we're looking at right now, it looks like the Panthers a little bit slow out of the gate. Just kind of rocket their way into halftime and then just kind of settle down and just finish the game after that, whereas the Patriots just seem to continuously build throughout the game and just kind of slowly squeeze you until there's not a whole lot left.
Agreed. Yep, I would agree with you on that one. So I'm going to ask you this just purely as a quiz sort of bit. If you had to guess the top 3 targets up until this point of the year for Tom Brady in New England, who would they be?
As far as passing?
As far as passing is who has taken out of 100% 2 or 3 of the guys? Because there's, I'll tell you this, 43% of the 100% targets that Brady's thrown this year have been just other. That's what the piece of the pie says is other. So there's 3 guys that have taken.
I'm going to go with Edelman.
Okay.
Gronkowski.
Yep.
And LaFell.
No, not LaFell. So at 22% is Edelman. Yep. 20% of the targets have been Gronk, and 15% has been Amendola.
It has been Amendola.
Yeah,
it was probably all last night.
Probably. What about for Carolina? I don't know if you can name 3 Carolina wide receivers. I know I can't. I can name 2.
I'm going to go with Funchess. Is he on there?
He is on here.
Yeah. Oh, Ted Ginn.
Yeah.
Ted Ginn Jr.
I always forget he's on that team, too.
Ted Ginn Jr.
Yeah.
And, well, it should be Greg Olsen.
It is Greg Olsen, yeah. Greg Olsen has taken 27% of the targets, Ted Ginn 22%, and Funchess 12%.
Yeah, I know he's kind of the really only remaining relevant guy on that offense.
Mm-hmm. I'd agree with you on that one. So one other question I want to ask. If you were a general manager for either the Panthers or the Patriots, if you could bring in one player, any player from any team, money's not an option, to help boost the offense, to give either of these guys a target, what is the biggest need for both of these teams? Is it a running back? Is it a wide receiver? Is it another tight end? Offensive lineman?
I think I'm just kind of wondering now what the Panthers could have done with a healthy Kelvin Benjamin all year. Knowing what they've done already, going undefeated, having a dynamic wide receiver. I think if you bring in an explosive wideout, maybe so much as like an Odell Beckham Jr. or something like that to a Panthers offense, that truly makes them a more complete team, I think, than they are. Jonathan Stewart is getting the job done on the ground. Mike Tolbert is a good enough, third down and red zone back.
Technically listed as a fullback.
Yeah, technically. I mean, he caught a touchdown pass this last weekend from Newton, so I think he does a good enough job to kind of relieve Jonathan Stewart. Newton can move the chains with his feet. He's incredibly talented. Their defense is great. They have one of the best secondaries in the NFL, but I think you give them an awesome wideout, just a stud wide receiver, and they could.
So who would your stud wideout be?
I would say somebody like an Odell Beckham Jr. Somebody like that.
I feel like he'd work better with Newton than he would with Brady.
Yeah, I'm talking about the Panthers.
Oh, you are talking.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Okay, that's right.
Yeah. I feel like Odell Beckham Jr. in the Carolina offensive scheme.
Sure.
Yeah, I feel like that would just be scary.
Yeah, I'd agree with you on that one. I think if you have him on one side, you do have Calvin Benjamin on the other side. That would be quite the interesting matchup. Now, what about for Tom Brady, though? What do we need to make Brady's life a little easier?
I mean, right now, it's easy to say wide receiver just as a kind of a gut reaction because they lost Edelman. And actually, Amendola left the game last night with a knee injury, so we'll see what happens moving forward. So obviously, they're pretty thin there.
Randy Moss and Terrell Owens are starting to polish off their cleats saying, bring us back.
The thing is, they could probably still score touchdowns in the league. But again, the Patriots, I think they could probably lock down on defense a little bit better. Their defense hasn't been great. They have the players there, but they're not forcing enough turnovers.
But we're talking just purely offensively, though. If you can just toss in one more target, though. I mean, maybe you do need another wide receiver then at this point.
I think for the Patriots, it's because they're getting very, very thin at wideout. You need that. Garrett Blount is doing, again, a good enough job at moving the chains at running back. James White now has been shown that he can step in and score either from the ground or the air if he needs to. But again, wide receiver would be a great help for both of these teams, I feel.
Agreed. Yep, I would definitely agree with you on that one. Neither team, though, as you mentioned, see, for me, I do agree with the wide receivers, but this is assuming in my mind, everybody's healthy
Yep.
at wide receiver. I think both of these teams have awful running backs.
Yeah.
Absolutely awful. Jonathan Stewart is not a very good running back. LeGarrette Blount, please, don't even start with me on that one. Sure, he's good enough for what they need right now to take the pressure off of Brady, but neither of these teams have had a dynamic running back in years.
Correct.
I don't think Carolina's ever had a dynamic running back. D'Angelo Williams was good for a little while, but then he tailed off as he normally did. But New England, I think Corey Dillon might have been the last really good guy that was a running back for them.
Who knows?
Maybe.
Hard to say.
I don't even know for sure if you can even agree with that on that regards. But regardless of that fact, though, these two teams are still undefeated. They're riding their quarterbacks to the very end, to the bitter end, to the death. No, hopefully not to the death.
Hopefully not.
Either way, though, they're having themselves a pretty good year so far. So we're going to step aside for a break. But when we come back, Sam and I are going to be handing out our top 5 awards for the rookies of the year so far. We've got our own lists, and we're going to compare and see where we each think the NFL's top rookies have done this year on offense. We'll be back with more right after this. Welcome back to the BG Sports Show, presented by Sports Radio America. I'm Bax.
And this is Sam.
Well, just a reminder for all of you wonderful folks out there that if you enjoy listening to Sam and I's soft, sultry voices every Monday through Friday, that you...
I know I do.
I hope you do. You have to listen to yourself every day.
It's true.
I mean, I listen to myself as well every day. But, be that as it may, if you enjoy listening to the BG Sports Show, we'd like to ask you to possibly consider becoming a financial supporter of the show.
Yeah, you can find out now how to donate on our website, which is bgsportshow.podbean.com. Then you can click on Become a Patron in the top right corner of the webpage. And, of course, we always thank you for your continued support of the show.
Woo! All right, Sam. It's time for us to sing a song. No, not a silly song. It's time for us to talk about who we think the NFL top 5 Rookie of the Year candidates are up to this point.
Up to this point,
because there's lots of time left. Plenty of time. Miles to go.
We're over the halfway point.
Well, it's true. We are.
So
over
I think
the halfway.
now is an appropriate time to talk about some of the top rookies, I feel.
I think so. So we have a top 5 list that we've assembled. I do know that our number ones are different, which is totally fine.
Yes,
but we'll get to that in a little bit. For me, and for us as a whole, I think the number 5 guy on this list needs to be the Seattle Seahawks wide receiver Tyler Lockett.
Ooh, Lockett? All right.
Yes, Lockett has completely changed the dynamic of Seattle's return game this year. He's added an entirely new dynamic to what the punt and kick return team can do. He's also caught several touchdowns this year as well. I think that if we're looking purely based off of rookies and the impact that they're making on offense and special teams to their team, Lockett has to be on this list.
Yeah, I think that's true. He's so dynamic as a rookie, and we've seen that in some rookie wide receivers before who come in and have like that kick return, punt return dynamic kind of in their repertoire, but at the same time, Lockett incredibly fast. He just has that breakaway speed for a wide receiver. Again, I don't know if Seattle's the right environment for him. I think his wide receiver... It's tough to be a good wide receiver in Seattle because they don't throw the ball a ton.
True.
They've never really had just this dynamic, explosive wide receiver that we've seen on other teams. But, yeah, he's getting the job done, and he's had 25 receptions so far this year.
Yeah, he's doing pretty good for himself so far. All right, our number 4, maybe you agree with me on this one, Sam, or maybe you don't, is Marcus Mariota.
Ooh, all right.
Marcus Mariota has had himself not a bad season so far. He's only 2 passing touchdowns behind Jameis Winston, who is coincidentally number 3 on the list.
Yeah, and actually, most of Winston's touchdowns came this last weekend.
Exactly. So coming into this last week, Mariota was actually having a better season than Jameis Winston. But Mariota does have the easier track to finish out the season than Winston does.
Yeah, Winston also is winning in the yards category as well, 2,400 to just over 2,000 for Mariota.
Yeah, but Mariota's has played 2 less games than him, though, too.
It's true.
So that kind of tells you a little bit about the dynamic ability of Marcus Mariota.
And that's odd, too, because I feel like, the weapons I think that Jameis Winston has in Tampa as wide receiver are a lot better than what Mariota
absolutely.
has. Yeah.
I'd have to honestly do a Google search to figure out who the receivers are in Tennessee.
Kendall Wright, and he has actually been hurt lately, but otherwise a lot of the offense, like a lot of other teams we've seen, has run through their tight end in Delaney Walker. But otherwise in Tampa Bay, Jameis Winston has Mike Evans and then Vincent Jackson.
It's true. No, I find that interesting, though, too, that they have struggled. But Tampa Bay, they're 5-5 right now. They're in a pretty good spot to at least try to make a wild card spot at this point.
Yeah.
While Tennessee has kind of fallen out of favor now and doesn't really have a shot unless they were to win out.
You know who's most excited about this?
Who's that?
Cam Fitch,
Good old
32.
Cam Fitch, 32. Where is he?
I don't know.
He didn't was on Periscope yesterday. He's not on Periscope today.
Probably still driving back from Chicago.
He's been driving for like a week.
I know.
Come on, Cam. Get your act together. I do find it interesting, though, between these two guys is that they both are awful at home.
Yeah, they are.
And really good on the road.
Weird. I mean, I guess that's not a bad way to start. Because I feel like it's easier to get better playing at home.
True.
Than it is to get better playing on the road. So hey, if you can play great on the road as a rookie, props to you.
That's true. Yeah. On the road, Marcus Mariota averages 23.2 fantasy points a game, and Jameis Winston averages 20.1 points a game.
Yeah.
On the road. At home, Marcus Mariota 10.4 points a game.
Come on, Tennessee.
And Winston 14.7.
Yeah.
So Winston does have 174 fantasy points this year to Mariota's 134. So say what you will about that. But either way. Mariota 4, Winston 3 in our list. Now, my number 2.
Your number 2.
Is different from your number 2.
Probably. It is.
My number 2 is Todd Gurley.
It is.
And your number 2 is?
Amari Cooper.
And my number 1 is?
Amari Cooper.
And your number 1 is?
Todd Gurley.
Glad we all have that figured out.
Look at that.
Good show. We'll see you all tomorrow. Thanks. No. I don't think that Todd Gurley is deserving of number 1 right now,
That's
personally.
Fair.
Just because I feel like, yes, he's done a good job, but it took him so long to get his act together this year, personally. I think at least. And I just think that
he didn't play right away.
Well, I understand that as well,
so.
But even still, with the fact of how he's come out and performed this year, I just like the fact that Amari Cooper gave new life to Oakland. And he's rejuvenated the offense because in St. Louis, they don't know who the heck their quarterback is. It's going to be Case Keenum. Is it going to be Nick Foles? Is it going to be the Water Boy? Like, who is it? At least in Oakland.
The kid up in row 3. Who knows?
Exactly.
I mean,
At least in Oakland, they've got a solid quarterback in Derek Carr who's giving the ball to Michael Crabtree and Amari Cooper. And they've been able to do so many great things. I understand the team's 4-6 this year.
Yeah.
But even still, Amari Cooper, in my opinion, has stepped up and gone above and beyond what Todd Gurley's been able to do this year.
Yeah, no kidding. And I mean, I agree with that. I think the best thing that's ever happened to Michael Crabtree has been Amari Cooper. And just to really open up some space for him as well, so teams don't always have to consistently lock down on him. They make each other better. And we've seen in certain scenarios where you have too many good players per se on a team, and they actually limit each other. But I think in Oakland they're in that unique situation where they're only going to make each other better because there's only really 2 top targets there.
That is true. I mean, aside from who has shown up so far, I mean, there's nothing that's really struck me as like, holy cow, these guys are, absolutely, incredible and, continue to showcase their abilities. But I think Oakland definitely has the better product overall in terms of what offense. If you were to put Oakland versus St. Louis, I think Oakland would come away with a victory.
Yeah, and
personally.
Yeah, just on the flip side, I'm going to have to go with Todd Gurley just because of how explosive and dynamic he's been for that Rams offense. I think Cooper's ceiling, like we just talked about, could be a little bit higher if he was the lone wide receiver there. But again, maybe that would hurt him because the defenses could lock down on him then. But with Todd Gurley being the running back, he has a little more control over his own performance, I feel, because quarterback turns around, hands him the ball, and then he takes off. He's not dependent on a good quarterback to throw him the ball.
True.
Like Amari Cooper is. And just he's racked off 775 yards so far in a short season.
True. No, I agree with you on that one. I mean, it's hard to really say that one guy has, that Gurley hasn't had a good year. I think he has, but even from a fantasy perspective, but he has gone down with his numbers where you look at Amari Cooper, where he's been a little bit all over the place this season. But in terms of who could possibly still make a push for the playoffs, I think Oakland has the better opportunity down the stretch. I mean, yes, they do finish their year. They play Detroit, Tennessee, and Kansas City these next 3 games, and then they finish out with Denver, Green Bay, San Diego, and Kansas City.
Yeah.
But you look at what Gurley has to go through: Baltimore, Cincinnati, Arizona, Detroit, Tampa, Seattle, San Francisco.
I feel like Gurley could really cement his status as Rookie of the Year if he plays well through this gauntlet down the stretch.
Agreed, yeah. I mean, if he goes into Baltimore, Cincinnati, and Arizona and comes out, with probably 400 to 500 yards rushing out of those 3 games, that would be a huge momentum booster for him. So, all right, well, so one more time with our fantasy football rookie list. Tyler Lockett at 5, Marcus Mariota 4, Jameis Winston 3, Sam has Amari Cooper at 2, I have Todd Gurley at 2, and Sam has Todd Gurley at 1, and I have Amari Cooper at 1. Let us know your thoughts. Find us on social media at the BG Sports Show on Facebook and at BG Sports Show on Twitter and Instagram as well. We'd love to hear from you and know your thoughts about that as well. So we are going to jump off to a break, and when we come back, it'll be time for Connor Christensen's Fight Corner here on the BG Sports Show. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the BG Sports Show, presented by Sports Radio America. I'm Bax.
And I'm Connor.
Oh, Connor, 2 days in a row.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, it's like an early Thanksgiving present, a Black Friday special.
Well,
How are
you
you
asked for it.
How are you this Tuesday morning, sir?
Oh, I'm doing very well. How are you?
I am fantastic, especially that you're here. This is great. I don't know what to do with myself that you're here 2 days in a row, but it's wonderful. It's not Thursday, it is Tuesday, but it is still time for your fight corner. So
It is.
I know you've got a few different avenues that you want to roll with us on today,
Yeah.
so I'll give you the floor, sir.
Well, I'm going to start because I've been seeing a lot of tweets, just a lot of social media going off on Holly Holm and Ronda Rousey. Holly Holm and Ronda Rousey. And they are screaming for Ronda Holm 2. They want the rematch, like right now. That's what they want. See, I'm going to disagree.
Okay.
They're here. I have a couple reasons why I think that we should wait a while. We should let Holly Holm fight some other people first.
Okay.
Let her defend her newly fought championship.
Sure.
Maybe 2 or 3 times before Ronda gets another crack at it.
Okay, sure.
And that's personally what I think. So here we go. These are my reasons why I think Ronda and Holm should not fight yet. And Holm, I'm having trouble with words.
Call her Holly. Holla.
Didn't do my vocal exercises this morning. Anyway, so first of all, we don't need a repeat.
Why not? Give the people what they want.
Another Ronda getting kicked in the back of the head.
Maybe she just should do her homework more and not try to box her.
I agree. She should not have tried to box Holly Holm. However, we don't need a repeat of what just happened. I guarantee you, Holly Holm, Ronda Rousey take the octagon next month. Same exact outcome.
Well, she's suspended for 180 days.
You know what?
That's not possible.
Barring a CT scan that proves that she's fine. So take that. I think that if they took the octagon, even at the end of this 6-month period,
sure.
she's not going to be doing a whole lot of training right now, Ronda,
yes.
and everything. It would be the exact same result. Ronda would lose. I think.
Another drop kick to the face or what?
Whatever.
I mean,
choose your knockout.
A chair.
But I think yes.
Armbar,
Holly Holm
crowbar.
will get a sledgehammer and smack her in the
MP4.
forehead. That would be
lightsaber.
Yes. No. So I think Ronda would lose again. So we don't need a repeat of what just happened.
Okay. Sure.
Reason number 2: Ronda needs time to heal.
Indeed.
Physically and emotionally.
Spiritually. Of course.
Yes. So, first of all, she got kicked in the back of the head and then got 2 hammer fists dropped on her bottom lip.
Mark.
That's she's getting plastic surgery done to fix the lip thing. And was she already did? Or she already did? I can't remember.
What did she already do?
She got plastic surgery. I think she got the surgery.
I think she got it.
I think she got the surgery, yeah. So she needs time to heal.
Indeed.
Obviously, she got her head rocked and everything, and then just the psychological pain of being totally dismantled like that.
True.
It's definitely not easy for any fighter to overcome. So, but I think Ronda's tough. I think she can handle it, and I think she can bounce back. But she needs time.
True. Time and money.
She needs time to heal, and I don't think it's fair to Holly Holm to have her go up against Ronda right away again, because Ronda was the face of. Well, in some regards, she still is the face of women's
because she
UFC.
lost one. It's one fight. She's fine.
Exactly.
Man up, Ronda.
So,
I'd never say that to her face.
Yeah, well, that's not a bad.
Somebody on Periscope saying that Ronda was too arrogant. Easy B and me says Ronda was too arrogant on Periscope.
I think I will agree to a point, I guess. I don't know if arrogant is the right word. I think she was kind of caught up in the publicity.
Sure.
She does so much promoting for the UFC, for herself, for whatever.
Yep.
Way more than most UFC fighters do, except even Conor McGregor's coming out nowadays and he's doing a lot of promos too. But Ronda was going promo crazy. So I think she was kind of getting caught up in her own hype. And then when she actually met Holly Holm, then she looked a little scared.
She's like,
going into the fight, she looked scared. So that was terrifying. What point was I on? What point was I on?
I think that was 2.
That was 2.
I think.
Was I still going with 2?
I think that was.
Oh my goodness! I lost my train of thought. That was a good point, though. Good point to lose my train of thought on. Right? No, it's not fair to Holly Holm. That's where I was. It's not fair to Holly Holm.
Darn it, Holly!
Because on the off chance that Ronda somehow beats Holly Holm, which I doubt right now.
Sure.
if Holly Holm loses that title right away, she didn't get a chance to be the champion. You know what I mean? I think that and other contenders are coming in here. Misha Tate deserves another shot. There are other women that want a chance to get the title. True. So I think Holly Holm should defend it. You know, I said earlier 2 or 3 times at least before Ronda gets another crack at it. So I'm seeing UFC's in the 200s for before Ronda and maybe not that far.
Maybe 200.
Yeah, maybe.
But because
that would be like a couple years from now. Anyway, but you know, Ronda have fought 3 times.
Sure.
In 9 months, which was more than
That's
any
a
other.
lot.
Yeah, more than any other champion.
When people want her, though, you want to get her out in public as much as you can.
That's true. And I think that the UFC is kind of realizing that may have not been the best decision. And
but Dana White's bank account is real happy, though.
Oh, yeah. Well, so is Ronda's. Anyway, she was the highest paid UFC fighter for,
by the second.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's
that, Floyd.
So I really think that Ronda Holm needs to wait. Those are my reasons, and I'm sticking to them.
Okay.
So UFC 194 is coming up in, what is it? It's 2 weeks from this Saturday, Indeed. December 12th. And it is going to be gut-busting. It's going to be awesome. Going to be fantastic. Conor McGregor taking on Yoso Aldo. Because there are 2 more Thursdays before the fight starts. Next Thursday, I'm going to dive into the main fight card, and I'm going to predict who's going to come out and who's going to win.
Okay.
In the main fight card. And then 2 weeks from now, I'm going to break down Conor McGregor and Yoso Aldo. We could talk more about them.
Absolutely.
We could talk about both of them having a championship belt and what that means. Because it's a little weird. But we'll delve into that. We have a lot of really, really good UFC 194 stuff coming out. And then, we even get movies nowadays in the fighting world.
True.
Creed is coming out. Looks fantastic. I cannot
Fantastico.
wait. Fantastico. No. It looks really, really good, though. It's Rocky 7, basically. It looks really, really good. Follows Apollo Creed's son. If you like Rocky movies, you'll like it. I guarantee it. But
I wonder how many people thought that this was just a documentary about the band Creed.
I did not. I don't know if that's any. No, I saw Creed and I was like, "Ooh, what's that?"
I just Bing searched Creed, and it's some for the movie, and then all kinds of stuff for music videos with Creed and with arms wide open.
No, wait, did I see like ticket sales? They're not still.
Oh yeah, people are still saying for ticket.
Oh no!
Oh, for Creed.
Okay, that's for the movie. I was
like,
people are not going to see Creed nowadays. No, that would be awful. I would never want to see Creed.
Oh Lord!
Oh boy!
Look at that.
Oh, woo! That's ridiculous.
Why would people dress like that?
That was the thing.
They need help.
I'm not going to disagree.
So you're going to go see Creed though? At the end of the day.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Do you like the reboot of the series?
It's not. I mean, I don't really call it. I don't really think of it as a reboot because it's.
How is it not a reboot? It's
Rocky Balboa came out like a couple of years ago. That if you want to pick a reboot movie, that was your reboot movie.
Nah, he was wrapping things up.
Oh my gosh! Okay, so I'm gonna drop some movie knowledge on you right now. So there were 5 Rocky movies, right?
Yeah.
At the end of Rocky 5,
yes,
Sylvester Stallone wrote it in there that he was supposed to die. The street kid. Because that's what it was. It was Apollo Creed twice, and then it was Mr. T, and then and then it was the Russian, played by Dolph Lundgren. Oh, great movie! And then that's where Apollo dies. By the way, spoilers.
That's
right. And that's why Creed, the new movie, comes out, focuses on his son. It's it's gonna be good. And then so there's that one, and then 5 was just some kid off the street. I don't remember too much about that
rocked his world.
Yeah, so Sylvester Stallone actually wrote it in that he was supposed to die at the end of that. He was going to get killed like Apollo did in Rocky 4, and that was going to be the end.
Yeah.
But everyone was like, no, you can't kill Rocky. You can't kill Rocky. So they rewrote it so that, Rocky wins and everything, and I think it would have been so much better if he had just died. But anyway, because they actually have released that footage. I think pretty sure it's like a deleted scene. It's really good. It's really good. Check it out.
Yeah.
And then Rocky Balboa came out, where I think he's trying to reconnect with his son or something, and he fights because there was like a computer simulated what if Rocky got in the ring with today's champion, and then they fought. And I don't know too much about that movie because I didn't see it, but I'm pretty sure Rocky doesn't win. But still, everyone was like, "Way to go, Rock! You tried." I'm pretty sure that's the whole thing. And then this new one is, Rocky Balboa just came out like 2 years ago, though.
So, it came out in 2007.
That's close enough.
It's not 2 years ago.
That's like 10
we were
years
still
ago.
in the single
whatever.
digits for 2,000 years.
But I wouldn't even count this as a reboot movie because it's not like Rocky fighting
They
anyone.
want to run with this new kid now.
Well, then he's getting his own series. It's not a reboot. I
But
should
it's-
slap you.
I read an
should slap
article
you.
saying it's a reboot. Dang it. All right, Connor. Well, thank you so much for stopping by, even though you did slap me around a little bit. It's all good. Thank you so much, Connor Christensen. You enjoy your Thanksgiving, sir, and we'll chat with you again next week.
Yeah, enjoy your Thanksgiving as
I
well.
will. I will indeed. Looking forward to it. Got the whole fam coming on to town. It'll be a good time. All right, well, thanks for tuning in to another edition of the BG Sports Show. Remember, you can get us right here Monday through Friday, except for this week, from 7 to 8 a.m. Central. And also live on Periscope as well. You can get us on Sports Radio America from 11 to 1 p.m. Central Time, and on Live 365 and TuneIn, and on demand anytime you want on Podbean, iHeartRadio, Spreaker.com, and on iTunes as well. And you can also find us on social media. You can go to Facebook and like the BG Sports Show Facebook page. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at BG Sports Show. I am at Baxter Colburn, and Sam is at Samuel_Wallace 2. Thank you guys very much for tuning in to another edition of the BG Sports Show. Enjoy your Thanksgiving. Have a very happy Thanksgiving. And we will talk to you all again next week. See you guys.